Chinese Coast Guard ships entered waters near Taiwan's frontline. Pope Francis taken to hospital after suffering from the flu. South Korea plunges again as world's lowest fertility rate. Ghana passes bill making identifying as LGBTQ+ illegal. Texas battles second biggest wildfire disaster in state history. Bezos, Nvidia join OpenAI in funding humanoid robot startup.
Hello, I'm Johnny. Thank you for joining us on Funday News. It's Thursday, February 29th, and here are your top stories. A Taiwan minister said Tuesday amid a continued rise in tensions with Beijing that 5 Chinese Coast Guard ships entered prohibited or restricted waters around Taiwan's frontline islands of Kinmen on Monday, but left shortly after being warned away. China's Coast Guard this month began regular patrols around the Taiwan-controlled Kinmen Islands, which are close to China's coast, after 2 Chinese nationals died trying to flee Taiwan's Coast Guard after their boat entered prohibited waters.
Taiwan has a large military garrison on Kinmen, the scene of frequent fighting during the height of the Cold War, but Taiwan's Coast Guard patrols its waters. Taiwan's defense ministry said last week it is not bolstering its forces on the islands close to China, which include the Matsu archipelago up the coast from Kinmen. Taiwan Defense Minister Chu Kuo-cheng, also speaking at Parliament, said he hoped what was happening around Kinmen would not escalate and would be smoothly handled. He said, "We don't want to see any combat conditions occur." 6 Chinese Coast Guard officers last week boarded a Taiwanese tourist boat carrying 11 crew and 23 passengers to check its route plan, certificate and crew licenses, leaving about half an hour later.
The Vatican City said Pope Francis, who has been suffering from the flu, was taken to a hospital in central Rome after the papal audience Wednesday. The Vatican did not immediately comment on his condition. The 87-year-old pontiff was seen arriving at the Italian capital's Gemelli Hospital on Tabor Island in a small white Fiat 500 and leaving again under escort in the same car after a short period, the ANSA news agency reported. Earlier in the day, Francis, seated in a wheelchair, was pushed into the audience hall at the Vatican. According to Reuters, he appeared weary as he dropped heavily into his seat.
Francis, who has been struggling with mild flu symptoms the past week, cancelled appointments on Saturday and Monday, but appeared as usual for the Sunday blessing from a window overlooking St. Peter's Square. In April, the Pope spent 3 days at Gemelli Hospital for what the Vatican said was bronchitis. He was discharged after receiving intravenous antibiotics. The pontiff has had several health problems in recent years. In late November, he was forced to cancel some of his activities and an international trip because of breathing problems. A scan at the time ruled out lung complications. Francis had a part of one lung removed when he was young and still living in his native Argentina.
South Korea's fertility rate, already the world's lowest, continued its dramatic decline in 2023 as women concerned about their career advancement and the financial cost of raising children decided to delay childbirth or not have babies at all. Data from Statistics Korea showed Wednesday that the average number of expected babies for a South Korean woman during her reproductive life fell to a record low of 0.72 from 0.78 in 2022. That is far below the rate of a 2.1 per woman needed for a steady population and well behind the rate of 1.24 in 2015, when concerns about issues such as the cost of housing and education were lower.
Since 2018, South Korea has been the only Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD, member with a rate below 1, defying the billions of dollars spent by the country to try to reverse the trend that led the population to decline for a 4th straight year in 2023. South Korea also has the worst gender pay gap in the OECD, as Korean women bring home about 2/3 of the income that men do. South Korea's demographic crisis has become the top risk to economic growth and the social welfare system, with the country's population of 51 million on track to halve by the end of this century. South Korea has previously projected its fertility rate is likely to fall further to 0.68 in 2024. The capital, Seoul, which has the country's highest housing costs, had the lowest fertility rate of 0.55 last year.
Ghana's parliament has passed a tough new bill that imposes a prison sentence of up to 3 years for anyone convicted of identifying as LGBTQ. It also imposes a maximum 5-year jail term for forming or funding LGBTQ groups. Lawmakers hackled down attempts to replace prison sentences with community service and counseling. It is the latest sign of growing opposition to LGBTQ rights in the conservative West African nation. The bill, which had the backing of Ghana's 2 major political parties, will come into effect only if President Nana Akufo-Addo signs it into law.
Gay sex is already against the law in Ghana. It carries a 3-year prison sentence. Last month, Amnesty International warned that the bill poses significant threats to the fundamental rights and freedoms of LGBTQ+ people. Activists fear there will now be witch hunts against members of the LGBTQ+ community and those who campaign for their rights, and say some will have to go into hiding. The bill proposes a jail term of up to 10 years for anyone involved in LGBTQ+ advocacy campaigns aimed at children. It also encourages the public to report members of the LGBTQ+ community to authorities for necessary action. MPs said the bill was drafted in response to the opening of Ghana's first LGBTQ+ community center in the capital, Accra, in January 2021. Police shut the center following public protests and pressure from religious bodies and traditional leaders in the largely Christian nation.
A rapidly spreading Texas wildfire has forced residents to evacuate, cut off power to homes and businesses, and briefly pause operations at a nuclear weapons facility. The second largest fire in Texas history, it has burned 500,000 acres of land north of the city of Amarillo. Texas Governor Greg Abbott issued a disaster declaration for 60 counties. Dry grass, high temperatures, and strong winds have fueled the conflagration. The Texas A&M Forest Service said that the winds had diminished slightly, helping to moderate the fire's spread. However, it remains 0% contained as of Wednesday morning.
The spokesman for the Texas Division of Emergency Management, Seth Christensen, said, "In the meantime, hundreds of firefighters and first responders have been deployed to the fire. The Smokehouse Creek Fire, as it has been named, has already razed 500,000 acres. It remains behind the East Amarillo Complex Fire, which burned over 900,000 acres in 2006. According to the Forest Service and local law enforcement, the Smokehouse Creek Fire has caused several towns, a neighborhood in the city of Amarillo, and other communities to evacuate. The National Weather Service has warned residents near Amarillo to remain indoors with their pets because of the poor air quality. Texas has issued warnings to farmers about the potential impact on agriculture and livestock."
Jeff Bezos, Nvidia Corp, and other big technology names are investing in a business that's developing human-like robots, according to people with knowledge of the situation, part of a scramble to find new applications for artificial intelligence. The startup Figure AI Inc., also backed by OpenAI and Microsoft Corp., is raising about $675 million in a funding round that carries a pre-money valuation of roughly $2 billion. Through his firm Explore Investment LLC, Bezos has committed $100 million. Microsoft is investing $95 million, while Nvidia and an Amazon.com Inc. affiliated fund are each providing $50 million.
Robots have emerged as a critical new frontier for the AI industry, letting it apply cutting-edge technology to real-world tasks. At Figure, engineers are working on a robot that looks and moves like a human. The company has said it hopes its machine, called Figure O1, will be able to perform dangerous jobs that are unsuitable for people and that its technology will help alleviate labor shortages. Other technology companies are involved as well. Intel Corp's venture capital arm is pouring in $25 million, and LG Innotek is providing $8.5 million. Samsung's investment group, meanwhile, committed $5 million. Backers also include venture firms Parkway Venture Capital, which is investing $100 million, and Align Ventures, which is providing $90 million.
The answer for yesterday was D, suspicious. He was rightly suspicious of meeting me until I reassured him I was not writing about him. Did you answer correctly? Now let's delve into the news of Ghana passes bill making identifying as LGBTQ illegal. Number 1. Impose. 迫使把什么强加于. This system imposes additional financial burdens on many people. Number 2. Convict. 定罪,判罪. He was convicted of fraud. Number 3. Heckle. 对演说者责问、诘问、起哄. He was booed and heckled throughout his speech. Next, we have a multiple choice question for everyone to practice. Which answer would you choose? You can write your answer in the comment section. The correct answer will be announced tomorrow. And that's all for today's Funday News. Be sure to tune into Funday News from Monday to Friday and click the link below to join Funday for free. I'm Johnny Wu, your host. I will see you next time.